Yeah, we are now rolling.
Nice. Breaker, this is Echo 15 Charlie. Reading it loud and clear. I thought it was gonna amplify, but like
It does not do that.
okay, it does jingle a little bit. Try not to move it
Copy.
around.
Over and out.
Oh, but I can't charge. Okay, well, hopefully that's.
Is enough juice?
Yeah.
How much juice do you have?
I have 46%.
Yeah. Mine is at 46 as well.
All right, well, then we'll see how this
Yeah.
goes.
Worst case scenario, I mean, I think at some point I'm gonna need to get up and pee or drink some water or something. So I don't know if that's a good time to check. Ugh.
Do you need to power them, please?
Yeah, we can do that. And also, the last time we did this, we put this
On the situation. And then we build it up. It's the box. Yeah, but I remember it's a little bit easier than the box.
I can really charge when I'm doing this.
No, you can't, so you have to sacrifice it.
Sacrifice.
For like 2 angles.
Yeah, that's the.
Yes, and closer, because this one then is.
Right. So you have some
Lodretto,
vertical. Yeah, nice.
Either we.
Or squeezing closer?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. So how do we start this? Are you gonna introduce? You two gonna introduce? Do you have like a little like jingle? Oh God. Okay. Nice.
Well, we didn't put it where we can see it this time. Because
Yeah,
last time
yeah.
We totally.
Yeah, we didn't. It's just harder to read. It was far away. Ooh, this one is a bit shaky still. Tissue or something so that this doesn't.
But now we start. This is our mise en place. So we're just getting things ready,
Yeah.
and then we have our amuse bouche,
Yeah.
which is check-in.
Yeah.
How we're feeling today.
Yeah.
And then with that we go into more like the main course of okay.
Yeah.
What we're gonna talk about today? Why did we bring you here?
Yeah.
Who are you?
Yes, nice.
Kind of situation.
I just have the notes that I put down yesterday here, so we can have those as well.
You want to sit in the middle this time?
I mean, yeah, if I can hold my neck.
Yeah, I like it. This is good for my hip, I think, on this side. But maybe at some point, we're gonna have to switch it up anyway. But if you feel this is better for you.
Okay, can you read this, guys?
Today's episode is brought to you by podcast name Gimme the Juice. Guess I can read it.
Yeah.
And then am I supposed to also hold it up? Or is it catching it when we're doing this? Is it better to just kind of keep it
I
close?
think it's best to keep it close.
Just like, here we go.
I think so. You like if you want to, you can also put it on you because we will be switching between.
Yeah.
Since you're the guest of honor.
Yeah, because sometimes I kind of get a little
Yes, if it's too much for you to
wavy.
Yes.
But I think maybe that might be a good thing for me because I think I will just forget. So maybe something like this. Is that how it's supposed to?
Yeah, it's fine. It's more the fact that if you have it really close, then we also need to remember to have it closer because so that
The levels are the same.
ish the same.
Yeah, something like this.
Of course, darling, of course. But it's a little left though.
I know, I should have another one. Oh. Yay, more coffee.
Oh God. Yeah, no, I can't have any more coffee.
Alright. The intro is out.
I was like, what? Where did it fall though?
Just right, I think right in
In the
front.
front.
In front here it did.
Oh, Lordy.
Is Claire close enough to me on my phone?
Yeah, I switched it out now, so we got everybody in here. And then we get everybody in here.
Everybody in. Hi. Don't know why my neck's so messed up.
And it got worse.
Yeah. It went like good yesterday when I was like massaging my feet, like foot reflexology during the Battle of Fates, and then it just stopped being okay.
While you're watching it, I totally zoned out. I'm so sorry.
No worries.
Bloop, 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 bloop.
Just making conversation to myself.
Doing yourself.
No, I was saying that yesterday when we were watching Battle of Fates, I
Yeah.
was just massaging the parts where I've seen that it's supposed to be connected to your neck, and yeah, it still woke up not being happy this morning.
So how are you feeling the rest of you then?
Also, a lot of IBS today. Like I am
Oh.
like my stomach is so activated. It's so lovely.
IBS baddie.
that because you're not expressing something?
But I'm trying to figure out.
How to express it or what to express?
I don't know. I think it was also I just spent the whole night like farting because I was so bloated. I don't know why, but
You're like, can I have the blue room? Close this door. Oh, I've been holding that all day. You know, you can loose around.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, because you don't fart so you don't fart so much
fart so much
in
For
public.
Sure I do. I'm very silent.
At what point does this begin? Have we begun?
Yeah, we're already rolling. So we
Okay, sick.
how are you feeling?
I'm feeling the 4 hours of sleep now. I'm feeling.
Oh,
I woke.
you only
I
had
woke
4
up-
hours
I went
sleep?
to bed at like 1 o'clock. 12.
Why?
I don't know. It's just when my body turned off, and then I woke up because the sun was up.
Yeah.
You know. So then I'm up, and that felt really good because I slept so much the night before. But then, like I was just saying, that I feel like I drank so much coffee that now I've just come full circle, and now I'm tired again. But I'm feeling like the little buzz. I don't know if it's just like excitement, nervousness. For me to say something strange, maybe. But then I'm also feeling more energized as we're starting to sort of settle and talk. So
Yeah.
maybe this will.
Well, I feel like that's usually what happens. That like I think for the past podcast, I also been tired. But then when we start talking, it gets you kind of more alive. But that's also the purpose here is that we don't have to be super awake. We
Yeah.
can't be groggy and then see where it takes us. It's okay not to be perfect.
Yeah. If I zone out,
Yes.
yeah, if I zone out or seem disinterested, it's probably just the sleep catching up. I'll be totally honest.
With something like,
I'll be
oh
like,
yeah,
"What?"
yeah. Consent. Yes, this is very important.
Yes, exactly. And you?
Yeah, I'm also
Mhm.
feeling groggy.
Mm.
I just was also outside, had a good cry as well for my mommy issues or mommy trauma. No, what do you call it?
Mommy trauma.
Mommy trauma. So my head is also like, huh? But so I also feel all of you like, yeah, okay.
Can I just like get some of the cat hair from you? It just looked a little uncomfortable.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
But rather than that, I also feel good and grounded and just like sluggish.
Mhm.
in that way.
I'm just stiff. I'm just so stiff. Like I'm not even turning my neck. I'm like, I'm stiff. Like, I'm stiff on the inside. I'm just blurry and watery.
All right, well let's see how this talk
Yeah,
goes then.
this will. Okay.
It's
we
real.
go.
Yeah, it's
For real.
So why did we bring Claire here today?
Really like talking to her.
Yeah. Thank you.
No, but well, should we just start by saying welcome
To Gimme the
juice? I'm Taya. I'm Taya. And you are.
I am Sophia.
And you are.
I'm Claire. I'm Claire.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah. No, I think the main point to bring Claire in is because of your expertise in communication and in
Oh God.
and consent work, and the how you have shaped the community of the work that you've been doing, both of holding workshops in, consent and the depths of the consent. It's not just like, oh, let's talk yes and no. I remember the first workshop we had with you, it was like a 4 hour, like, okay, fuck me, yes, this is so much more than just what people talk about on the shallow level, and then also see how you also what you're contributing in creating how to do accountability work, bringing that concept in as well, and really making it more of a how will we word it?
Practice.
Yes, but like, what does it, when you have accountability work into a community, what are you actually doing to the community then? You actually are making it more
Resilient towards
yes,
conflict and consent failure.
yes. Well, yeah, I'm open to
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like it's also part of, like, when we say radical, it doesn't really mean anything at some point. But I
radical
think,
justice. Isn't that what you often say? Or
well, I would definitely say that I am very inspired by Kai Cheng Tom's work, who does, I think it might have been, I'm not actually sure if she was one that coined this, but a transformative justice. This
that's
idea
what the
that
word you said. Yes.
that not only does one person change through conflict or hurt, harm that happens in community, but that we all kind of also change, and we have space for each other to be different and grow. And I think that's one of the ways that we describe conflict as generative. It has the possibility to give life to ourselves and each other and the community, I suppose. Yeah.
Right. So I think that's like the topic of today's episode, is going more into this and the aspects of communication and conflict and consent and the community work.
The CCCC.
Community care coordinator? No, wait, what?
You just said communication, consent, conflict, and community. So it was like CCCC.
There you go. Yeah, I see my head's not on there. I was like, what?
That was my input. Clearly, there was nothing much more. Sorry.
But yes, welcome to our playground where intimacy becomes political
And personal and real.
and real. And a disclaimer that these are our personal perspectives.
I'm not that
My brain now is just blah, blah. We need to talk like this instead with one person. But yeah, these are our experiences in that sense, and are from our background, from our experiences, our privilege, our culture. So it's not like this is a black and white truth, but it is here more to share our experience and our stories to inspire, and we're very welcome to hear all the feedback and the criticism and the good and the bad in the comments, to hear also how this landed in you and how we can also reflect more on what we are doing.
And if you like this episode, you're more than welcome to give it a like, to share, to comment.
Only if you want to.
But it helps. Yeah. So thank you.
Okay, so where do we start?
Well, yesterday sorry.
Now I'm talking.
Now I'm talking. I can do it. I can help out here. Yesterday I was thinking we could start by talking a little bit about the start of our consent journey. Like how did we first meet consent, and especially what how did you get into the work that you did do?
Yeah. Well, I think I'll start by saying first, I don't feel like an expert. I don't claim to be an expert. I love that. That's your opinion. I'll take it. Take it as a compliment.
An expert for us.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But I also just, I mean, this is a lifelong practice, as even just like of learning myself, and sort of the difference between knowing and doing is sometimes worlds away from each other, and sometimes the hardest part of all of this. I would also say, and maybe I'll speak for you as well, I'm not so big on compartmentalizing my life. And so at least my journey into Lollipop, Juice Box, and so on started because you found me on the app that you created. And I didn't know you were the creator of the app. But we had a very lovely time the first time we met.
Dumplings.
Yes,
We
totally.
about dumplings.
Totally.
Yeah, they were my first date, actually, through the app.
I'm honored.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also separately needed a job. You had one, and I was like, this is totally going to change this dynamic. You're not going to find this top dominant person anymore, because power will be in this relationship in a different way. And I think we're kind of clearly, and then we just worked together, and then became friends from there. And then when it comes to my education, my training around consent education mainly, I do share that I'm a sexual health educator, but really I say that partly because consent is absolutely part of what is necessary for comprehensive sexual health education. It's not complete without consent education. And that's actually where I started in my training, was my background being in classroom teaching. As a school teacher, I got very honored that a lot of students really trusted me to disclose things about their personal life in a way that I did not know how to hold. And I certainly did take a lot of that home, and it was a really hard job for me. So, and because I care, and I think that sort of time when I had some time to take a break, probably because I moved here, was to think about what was something missing in my toolkit. And I think one of those things is like, even though I'm queer, like I don't know how to talk to a student who's sharing about them coming out. You know what I mean? Like, what is age appropriate? What are the words we're using? How do I all that stuff that doesn't get covered in teacher training. And so that started there. So I just did a sexual health educator certification program with and fuck, she's great, but I will say that it's called Everyone Deserves Sex Ed, and it's like a really great program. But within that, there was a small module on consent. It was 1 hour, but it was profound. It's the food analogy that I use. I would just took that, and then that just became, where do I learn more of this? And then there I can share more of it. Yeah,
because it's been how many years now?
I mean, we've been working together for like 4 years now.
Right?
I've given at least, I would say an easy number would be at least 6 workshops every year.
Yes.
The first year I gave a lot more, and they're like 4 hours long at least each.
You used to have 2 different ones, did you not?
Oh my God, yeah. It's like totally expanded into, it used to be one intensive that was 2 weekends long. It was like a lot. And and people were here for it, and we did food and stuff, and that was great. But I think just to go back into the journey of the training, then that's where I learned also about the Wheel of Consent, which is Betty Martin's work, who was, she's a body worker, has history in sex work also, and I think was really trying to support even the practitioners with how to navigate consent in body work. And so then that was also fascinating. That's where a lot of the somatic practices came from. And then I also did a training with caption it here in the video or something later. My fucking brain, like,
it's all good. We can do that.
Names, okay.
You want me to give a name?
Yes, exactly. I'm a very visual person, so I like to literally see the name, but it's just like not coming up right now. Stacey Haynes. There we go. See that? Yeah, Stacey Haynes, who does the politics of trauma, which that was really, I think, important and fascinating work also to kind of bring trauma out of just interpersonal and personal and into the society and the culture in that which we live. And And in there was also a lot of very interesting somatic modalities, especially to work with consent in specific contexts. How does my body change shape? Even what does my body look like, or how does my body experience pressure, and in which ways, do I, even just the shaping of my shoulders, the way in which I'm pressing up against and really pushing out. And that can mean different things for different people, right? The pushing out can be something completely contrasting to somebody, one person to the other. But that became a really interesting window in which to sort of view pressure, tensions, what happens when I'm met with that, and what happens to my ability to consent and my ability to say no when I'm met with that pressure, even internally, right?
Yeah, no, but that's what I also thought was so interesting. What I also learned was like consent is body awareness first, communication second. I was like, whoa, yes, it's not about your yes, it's understanding how your body is reacting to understand what is your yes and no before you actually can communicate it.
What is your maybe? What
Yeah,
is
well,
your
when do you feel like pressure? When do you feel more open to be able to understand actually, where your wants and desires are coming from too, or is it just in your head to please somebody, or to yes, I forgot the rest of the words.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, exactly. I would say
But
that's true.
it's body communication with yourself. It's self-awareness.
Yes.
Yeah. And in that journey, I think that I don't know how you felt about the how it you taught in different contexts, like different both young people and adults, and now clearly the last 4 years maybe mainly in a Norwegian context of society. How do you feel like that impacted, or like what do you see as a term of like maybe a factor that you met in people, like for example, was there
I think
resistance, or was there like
I would say I would just maybe focus on the culture in general in Norway is something I noticed, where when I'm facilitating, it will be English, and some things you could say like lost in translation or don't have a word with it. For example, one of those things that kind of came up, and it's not something um, this is not like a performance, when someone says, "Oh, no, thanks," or, "Not this time," or something. A way that sometimes people uh, respond to the no's can be like, "Thanks for letting me know," or "Thanks for saying no," or some kind of way to acknowledge that, like, maybe it isn't so easy for someone to say no to you, and that you're just letting them know it's okay to do that. And I appreciate that you actually say no to me. And then for a lot of native Norwegian speakers, it's like, how do we say that in Norwegian? Takk for svaret. Takk for at du sa nei til meg. Like it just doesn't fit. And I think that that's also really beautiful. And maybe part of it is it's just not an easy short answer. Maybe it requires a couple sentences, or maybe, maybe there's something that's left unspoken that can be understood by gesture or something. I don't have the answer for that, but I just noticed that was something interesting, as well as, and maybe like, again, a general culture of, something so simple as like, could you get me a glass of water? Because, I want water, and that would be nice, is a desire, that I have. Feels so, I think for some people so foreign. It's like, well, you got two legs. Like, why don't you go get it? That becomes actually the response. And I think a lot of people's bodies that has been coming up in conversation. It's with noticing consent is also noticing the question. It's noticing the whys, and sometimes more information would help me decide yes or no. And maybe the answer is because I don't want to is not a culturally good enough reason for you not to just go up and get it yourself, even if you are really cozy. So I find that interesting when working with those authentic requests. Sometimes I've noticed participants having trouble asking for some of the simple things. I think I find that really interesting. And I'm wondering you two both growing up here, if there's some
It's funny.
resonance for
None of us
yourself,
actually
or
grew up here.
okay.
Well,
I'm
technically, like
kidding.
I mean, teenage slash eight, like later.
I came to
teenage
Norway when
years.
I was 7, so I had
Mm,
some
Okay.
childhood here in that
mhm.
way, I would say. And you came to Norway when you were
18.
Oh, okay. See,
Yeah, much later.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. But what do you think? Do you struggle with that, or do you feel like that's an easy thing to do? Or
No, yeah, no, we do not practice communication of consent in those small words or small worlds. Small actions too. At all, we don't like my family never really communicated at all. I'm noticing now,
mm,
and conflict was never really brought up, and we always gonna shove that under. It's yes, things were more expected that you had to do stuff or to help. I think that may be where also maybe my sister kind of did not like the expect when you have expectations and you don't and it's just come common or like expected expectations and they're not communicated and then of course it becomes disappointment because they're not fulfilled.
mm,
um and then because of there has been lack of communication of what is actually a sister or what is expected through there in that sense,
mm,
of helping out and taking initiative and being there where they maybe the I don't want to say maybe consent, but the way of communicating what is this relationship? Okay, what can we do? Expectations. What do you have capacity for?
mm,
Um, that is kind of like what I think the consent part has started this way of communicating and negotiation with
mm,
relationships as well, of
mm,
finding out your desires, your expectations, what your needs are. Yes, it opens up the broader kind of field of
mm,
how to relate to each other. It's
Mm.
probably what I'm trying to say here.
But it's also a part of that is like learning by doing, in the sense of like
mm,
it's kind of hard to expect a child to already know what their desires are, what their expectations are. Like some
mm,
things of just that conversation about negotiation also happens later through a little bit more of life experience,
Mm.
maybe some like that you had unmet needs. And of course, it would be great if you have role models in your life that are happy to show you or guide you in some way of like
mm.
showing you what communication and what a negotiation looks like. But it's
You
it
didn't have
no.
that.
I think you're bringing up an interesting topic here about like how to engage with consent opportunities with children,
Mm,
and also how to be an adult child
mm,
of a parent,
Mm.
when the norm was sort of set before,
yes.
and then we kind of are raised in a home culture, and then maybe as an adult want to like establish or reestablish or something with the boundaries, which is like maybe norm breaking in that
Mm,
home.
Mm.
I think many people's homes
mm,
also. And it's also generational gap. I mean, the idea that a child can be like, hey, when you do this, it makes me feel like this. What I
mm.
need you to do is this, blah, blah, blah. It'd be absurd, I think,
Yes.
for our parents to speak to their parents that
Mm,
way.
yeah.
I mean, the understanding, I think, is that this is the way. Like,
Mm,
you know what I mean? Um, and I'm very also curious, and I think critical of that norm. But at the same time, I think it's a very delicate balance to be a parent of a child, noticing also power in the sense that I have responsibilities for my kid that they're not aware of the risk
mm,
and so on.
Mm.
And this can go from anything from like food to how to dress.
mm,
And I've from early on, my kid was clearly had a sense of what she liked and what she
mm,
didn't like. And I think one of the things is that I noticed is that I'm wondering if this is actually just what gets learned
mm,
out.
mm,
It gets sort of atrophied or numbed
mm,
in certain excuse me, environments.
mm.
Or and on the other side of that, very boundaried children, I think
Yeah.
especially, might also be the ones that are quite bullying, and they're
Mm.
very steered,
Yeah.
like and controlling, not so willing to maybe aren't so tolerant of disappointment, not so having their way and so on. So I'm very conscious of that. And I think specifically with them, I've noticed that we're trying to build in a little bit more tolerance for discomfort and disappointment, and at the same time, sort of laying down at what degree is there a limit? Is like you can wear. We've talked about this before, like wearing a princess dress or something. Just like when we're going climbing, like it's a no. Like
practicality of it,
exactly. Like I'm not interested in controlling your body, and at the same time, it's just it's like even if you're actually really good with it, I think there's sometimes just like those clothes are not for that, and I don't want you to trip. You got to stuff it in the harness and all this, and it's the leggings, babe. Like so please, some leggings and some shorts, or wearing really light clothing in winter. And she's just having like a meltdown about wearing, and then there comes a very interesting thing of like, why don't you have to wear a vintage dress? And I was like, well, I'm like many kilos larger than you and likely going to be warmer, maybe. I don't know. Like, I actually don't know the science behind this, you know what I mean? But the main thing is I'm not going to be outside for an hour and a half. And also, I don't want to get a call from, like honestly, I don't want to get a call from someone at Barnahage saying I didn't dress you well. They told me you need to wear a winter dress, babe. You're going there. You can play with them. I feel like
take it up with them instead.
I honestly feel like the annoying parent. Like as a teacher, I'm like, oh my god, this motherfucking parent, like always sending them in like these goddamn dresses, and like, and it's like you're not supposed to wear princess dresses at school. So yeah, it's like
like you're not supposed to wear it. Like it's so interesting.
It's not. I think she goes through a really great Barnahage. We've talked openly about this, and they really accepted her as this is just like how she expresses herself. It really has little to do with this vanity or this attention seeking. And we were kind of concerned about that in the beginning about like her sense of value through her clothing, but at the same time, it's just like again, what children get is so little chances for like, practice and expressing their bodily autonomy. Like it makes sense that at least in this case she would gravitate towards clothing to be like, I'm going to wear it like this with this,
and that would make sense why it's so important to be able to have a space to explore your dress and what you want to wear. And that's why people also come to these sex positive spaces, because that's when they can finally explore. Oh, walking in this mini skirt is really nice, and letting my balls get free, and exploring yourself and your identity. And that's what you're doing you should be doing as a child.
I mean, honestly, like I say this by not sexualizing kids' behaviors, but I feel like a lot of the sort of kink behaviors are really just like kids.
Sorry, I just know
us doing things that we would probably want to do as kids, but then just weren't allowed to do.
They just went from green to no lights.
Yeah, that's true.
Should I double check here? Yes. Liquid detected.
Liquid.
When did liquid come in?
Who spit here? But yeah, you also asked earlier about like I think for me the consent part or the negotiations in my like family, I've seen at least now in recent years that there's a lot of guilting into doing things, and I think that's a big part of like how you show love in some parts of my family. And then there's a sense of like avoidance, and also like it's just so many things that as an adult I can see now, because I've been practicing more of consent and of like negotiations and communication in different ways, conflict, feeling the tension, that now I'm like, okay, but I want to actually be in that. I actually want you guys to be there with me in that. Let's learn together. Like it's okay that you haven't had it before. I didn't either. But it's hard to, as a child, parent your parents, not from a just it happened, but more like I want you guys to also know this so that we can have a better relationship, we can communicate better with each other. And consent is a big part of that, in the sense that how to invite someone in that is like resisting towards conflict, or is scared of it, or has their own never really dealt with type of trauma or like things. Yeah.
Was there a question there?
Yeah, you just asked me, like, you asked us both, like,
Yeah.
what we like, how consent showed up in our lives in the
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it definitely showed up both like through my own interest of like political ways of being engaged in organizations, but definitely like the practice of consent has been in this space, like in our spaces, because it's sort of like you have to get good at understanding your body and setting boundaries in order to have a good time. Yeah.
Yeah.
How will we actually just define the word consent? Samtycke. What is the definition of that?
Well, I mean, I would say, you know, we can say politically, criminally speaking, we've just done a fucked up job trying to figure that fucking out. So I would think I would just say, you know, hats off to the BDSM community, specifically the gays, who are like really like the modern pioneers in naming, what's the word? Defining consent. Where it started out with like safe, sane, and consensual. And I think there was a critique around who's to say it's sane and safe and also, and so then they worked with RAC, risk aware, consensual kink. Still not necessarily, again, naming what is what is consent, right? So my understanding is that then Planned Parenthood, which has a very interesting and you know, ironic start, but Planned Parenthood is essentially the organization in the States that can give care, given our totally fucked you know, healthcare system, for people who are looking to plan family plans. So then that can be like prenatal care and so on, but that can also be preventative contraceptions and so on, like that, giving information on that and other sexual health, STI checkups and things like this. And so a small portion of their services are aimed at abortions, but that becomes the brunt of why they're being defunded. But they did some work around education in for young adults and teens and so on about what consent is, and they use the acronym FRIES, which stands for stands for break. You know, I fucking hate. Okay, first of all, I use CRISP. That comes from the coordinators, intimacy care coordinators. This newer field in where you might find them on set or negotiating on behalf of actors for intimacy related scenes. Partly because, you know, understand that when you're negotiating on behalf of yourself as an artist, it's difficult to be like held to the standard of artists or also very compliant, whether you're a dancer or an actor or so on, under like the sort of the pressure of production and directors, and you really want to do your best. And I think that comes into a direct issue with consent making. Like, do I actually have a choice here? To what degree is power impacting that? And what risks can I take by saying no, and to my career, but also to this role, and how people treat me is potentially difficult. And so, but they use CRISP, which is considered, reversible, informed, S is specific, and then P is participatory. I think the FRIES is freely given, reversible, informed, enthusiastic, and specific. And
see, you got it.
I did. See, I think it's always just take some time, and then there it goes. But there's some critique around that FRIES acronym. One, because enthusiasm is a perception. It's you showing me interest, and I'm thinking you're interested based on your body language. Not. So then people sometimes use emphatic, and it just is a very clear yes. Whether I, you know what I mean? Like, I might not look stoked, you know, but I think it gives a little bit more space for that, and also gives a little bit more, I think, awareness to neurodivergent expressions, and that might not be what you typically would see
perceived as enthusiastic.
Yes, exactly.
But it's still not really saying what consent is. It's saying what it can be of a communication wise, but it is a communication form when or where, or like, I think that's where the definition I'm trying to.
It's a dynamic process. You know, like consent making is not this static space. It's this constant ebb and flow of like checking with myself. It's also, you know, usually between me and myself,
Mm-hmm.
and or me and another.
Yeah, because consent is also with yourself.
Yeah.
Yes, right.
So
and then with somebody else.
So it's sort of, to what degree do I can I say yes? To what degree can we all do what we want and have a good time and change my mind?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and in German, we like consent is literally Zustimmung, and it just means how agreeable it is. Like how agreeable is the situation for you, in the sense that, can you agree to do something? Are you happy to? I mean, I guess it's the same with consent, but it's
No,
like
but it's a different way of looking at it.
maybe,
differently.
yeah.
And I'm wondering if you can speak on more the legal side of this, where we're at in Norway, and kind of the mess that I'm talking about. I think I will
Yeah.
start also by saying, you know, like marital rape was legal for ages. I mean, I think it was in the 90s in the States that they actually made that illegal, where a woman had won a case against a husband who was clearly way out of line, let's just say. But up until that, consent was marriage, and that was assumed. And so then from there, you know, other court cases and so on, I'm not so aware of in the Norwegian context, but I know that they've been working in the Samtykkeloven. So it's an important conversation these days.
Yeah, then the main problem with Norway in this about consent law was the fact that since like the early 2000s, or maybe the 90s even, there was actually, consent was sort of in the lawmaking, but not in the way that actually like was working. Like you had a very small, so there's two paragraphs basically that are mainly important. There was the rape one, and then there's the smaller one that didn't cover, it didn't cover rape, even though in the rape one it didn't cover consent. So it was just like, in a sense, so you get assaulted, and when you get assaulted you didn't agree to it, then that was kind of covered. But it was a very, very small, like there's a lot of issues with those paragraphs, and it's very complicated. I'm not necessarily remembering all of it, but one of the things is, it was just not helping people the way that was intended. And the rape paragraph was the minimum sentence you could get was 3 years in prison. So the when the punishment is that high for something that obviously is detrimental, but it was very hard to convict people, and it just created a lot of unmet needs in our society. And unfortunately, like for example, there's some statistics that from 2013 until 2024, the level of rape had doubled in sense of like statistics. So it went from like 1 in 5 women have been sexually assaulted to 1 in 2 or something. It was very like a huge like, and the law didn't change. But now the last in 2025 July, they implemented a new law of consent that covers, and it's no longer called the rape law. It's consent. And it covers no means no, and it covers yes means yes, in the sense that it just is a broader terminology. For example, there's other consent laws in Europe that cover just no means no, which makes it kind of hard when the person is fawning or is, like
no communication at all.
Well, I mean, yes mean yes has its own problems too, but
Sure.
but yeah.
But it covers more, like it's more comprehensible, and then the punishment is adjusted, and it's just, I think that this will be an ever evolving problem, and you can't, like, one law doesn't fit all cases. But what it does in the sense now cover is, for example, if you are raped while you sleep, and or just a lot more than it did before. So we're happy about that, and it's just we're also not
It's still a
happy
long
that
way.
we,
It's still a long way to go.
Hopefully a step in the right
that's
direction.
just the legislation of it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But we've been, at least like in schools, consent has been a part of the conversation, trying to be a part of the conversation in sexual education for let's say at least 10 plus years in different formats. So it's not just, you can't just have a legislation and then just society changes. Like you need to have formats of like how people can internalize this information and learn about it. And the legislation as well like created just a lot of fear. And like I think it was a small like survey they did last year under Pride just at one of the stands, and a lot of young men especially were very like, yeah, now I'm kind of afraid to, you know,
Even
just
approach.
start the
I think
conversation.
this is an important point to make, is that if your motivation for behaving in a way that causes the like least amount of harm is motivated through the fear of criminality or like this going through the criminal process, we're having the wrong conversations. This is also a great thing about like we need legal protections, and at the same time, as someone you know also has some like abolitionist principles here that and values, is what are we outsourcing is essentially like accountability that so many people desire and would be so healing to have, I think, and so often is lost even in minor uh, um, uh, hurts and harms in interpersonal relations. In healthy relationships, we don't get accountability. You know, the norm is no accountability in our society and in our community. And I think for anybody who's actually experienced somebody taking account, the feeling of that can be maybe like grief giving is because it's so unfamiliar, and then sometimes can bring forward all the other times. Maybe even for me, it was like, see, that wasn't so fucking hard. And it's like, can other people just fucking do, you know, to do this?
And then let's explain what accountability actually means, because that is also a very new word for most people in society today. So how would you explain that too?
Yeah,
when you're explaining it.
Yeah. So okay, I would say, you know, being accountable to my actions is about that I'm willing to come towards and be responsible for my behavior, for maybe my impact on somebody when my intention was something else. It's about willingness to be open to somebody else's experience of me or of how I've affected them, without also like spiraling into the shame of internalizing that as like I'm a bad person.
I was not good enough.
Yeah,
Yes.
and then it becomes actually about me, and that becomes sometimes the very intolerance of dealing with guilt and shame becomes the very barrier towards accountability. Because when somebody says that you've hurt me, I go into all the excuses for why I did the thing I did to try to prove that I'm not a bad person, or I had reasons to do it. And of course, you know, good people hurt people, you know what I mean? And I think so yeah, it's a long-winded way of saying it's the way I take responsibility for my behavior in spite of my my intentions. You know,
Is this also a good time to talk about blame?
yeah, we can. I think maybe it would make sense for me to talk more about my personal consent journey as opposed to my professional journey. I think with this topic in general, we could have said this earlier, but you know, some of us have lives that require a trigger warning for others, and at least I'll just say a content warning, as consent is sometimes almost impossible to talk about in depth without also talking about violations, like serious crossing overs in boundaries. And I think it's important to say the context in which I was raised, which was from a Catholic upbringing. I went to church every Sunday, went to Catholic school, except for like a 2-year stint when I lived in the Midwest. And that was public school. And so I lived in this like reality that God knew everything, even my thoughts. I also lived in a really difficult home, and I was also very sheltered. So I wasn't allowed to like, I think I can recall like less than 5 in my entire childhood of like sleepovers and things like this, and had one time had somebody come over to my place like when I was older. I think we had like 2 sleepovers, and again, you know, this is my recollection, and I also have a very difficult. Cannot remember very much, so then that will add to it. And part of the reason why I don't remember very much is that it wasn't really good things to remember. So it's my body's intelligence that I survived. I don't remember all the details. I just remember it wasn't great. And I won't go into all the nitty gritties about that. I will just say that I learned from a very young age to numb out.
Yeah.
I learned from a very young age that I was the problem and I needed to fix me, and then everyone would love me and everyone would be okay, and then I would be okay. And I also learned very young that I didn't have a voice, and I couldn't have a voice. It was dangerous to have a voice. And in fact, when I acted out, there would be consequences. I would very well see that this is not the way in order to sort of escape any of the things I was trying to escape. So I escaped into my mind, I escaped into fantasy. I escaped into, I was such a, a digital baby, I call it, like just into when I got the computer, was in the chat rooms, was in the, I'm in the AOL life, I'm in the chat rooms, I'm alter egoing, probably catfishing, like as a kid, like, so I say that all because this is also me coming into my understanding of my sexuality. This is the world of Tumblr pre-censorship. I've seen probably way more like, cutting photos that I should have ever seen, or way more like the naked girl and like the fully clothed man, chains turn me on, like looking at leather turns me on. And I also grew up in San Francisco, right? So this juxtaposition of Catholic sheltered life next to being driven home, and then I'm seeing like the most beautiful woman walking, tall and then still wearing platform shoes. And then I'm like looking, and then of course a comment of like, is that a woman? Oh, that's a man. And I'm like, that is no man. You know what I mean? Like clearly not a man, And so then just living in this world, and also with Folsom Street Fair, and like seeing all the leather daddies and all these people just like so unapologetically sexual and gay, and was both I think like I didn't know what to do with it. I think when I was younger, in the sense of like, yeah, people doing things, and then I would just hear comments of, especially with all like the face piercings and tattoos, of like, oh, don't do that, like no one would ever love you or whatever. And I was like, I don't want love. Let's do that. This is very interesting. I've also been very sensation seeking for a long time too. So it's also, these types of things have been very interesting. But I think it's important to kind of lay out that picture because, in Tumblr and in the world of group chats and online chatting, I could try things out in ways without ever committing to it. And my whole like journey up until I would say like my late 20s is really just fuck around and find out. And I've also had this a bit of like, if something happens to me, it's because of me. And I'm not saying that that's a good thing. I'm saying that, and this goes into this idea of blame, it's two people or more that are in this constant dynamic. And when I'm speaking of consent in our spaces and so on, it's coming from a healthy place. It's not coming from like a manipulative, abusive situation in which you cannot consent in that space. It's already been destroyed. But at the same time of me getting more agency, I got a car when I was 16. I was never home after that. I moved out at 16. I was dating someone older,
Wow.
Someone accused me of being gay in high school, and I said, no, I'm not. And then like dated the straightest, tallest, blondest, like white dude ever, just took him off the market, and just like was crazy, like basically like it was not a healthy relationship. But
you were not gay, at least.
Like totally not, like obviously, like because we're fucking, like, no, I'm just kidding. So that was like the beginning of my sort of like sexual interest was quite young, actually. Like it was also you know, like the first person I had sex with too was like from like a MySpace link. And like, you know, like his parents were away.
Yeah.
And it was like total shit. Like I won't go to the details of it, but it was just like not a good time. And so sometimes it's like, what's the difference between just like bad sex and like something that you experienced when you said that you didn't want it and you experienced it anyway? As I would define that as a consent violation, and also why it kind of probably feels very violating, but it can also feel really violating to have bad sex, you know, just like and I did kind of feel I like bit like that, you know, and I kind of just was like, I mean, I got like, it was in the sense like the condom broke, and then I had to go to Planned Parenthood, and the next day go to Planned B. That was like my first time, so I was like, oh, you know what I mean? And
Great start into
yeah,
your
I
sexual
was
journey.
just like, but I did, you know, it was like that thing everyone was talking about. So I did the thing, it's done, we can move on with our lives. And I was like, I thought I would just stop thinking about it. But of course I was a total horn dog, like could not stop thinking about it. In, you know, and so in this place,
even though the sex was bad.
I was just like, maybe another one will be better, you know? But then everyone's calling me gay, so then I'm only trying to like hook up with this dude, you know. So, so I think in that way that was just a very vanilla situation, and I knew kind of in the back of my mind when we broke up after like 4 fucking years. Like I was 19 by that time, and I was really then exploring, was kind of deep in the Tumblr world and really exploring, and then went to, you know, like Folsom Street Fair, was obsessed with kink.com, you know, like had seen like so much shit on there. And then also I think one of the comedians, what's her name? Like Ali Wong talks about this. Is like when you get in the internet and you try to, you know, like just find a remedy to your sickness, the internet will always beat you. So it will just get sicker and sicker. And I'm just eating it up. You know what I mean? So like I feel like I have friends who like went the gothy route where you just like watch like there was like this video that came out of like people like dying, and there was like a compilation of like these videos. Are you not aware of this?
No.
Okay, but
I'm over so big in Tumblr. I don't know if you did.
No, it was like this thing. It was like yeah, anyway, it was just all these violent footages that got put into like a reel, and people were like watching like actual footage of people like getting decapitated and stuff. So that was gnarly. I wasn't in that world, but I'm in another world of like the Two Girls One Cup and the meatspin.coms and all this other way further things, and a lot of that was fascinating also. Like I think I was fascinated by the way people experience pain and like find pleasure through pain as well, and the agency and the choice that they chose to do these things. And so I met someone around when I was 20, and that was kind of like the first relationship where I felt like I could sexually be like he was way freakier than me. So I had a lot of space to play, I felt like, within that, and that felt really safe. And I really felt like in those long distance situations I could communicate in a way that was more practicing communicating honestly and not being worried like I'm going to run into this person later if they find me totally fucked, you know what I mean? Like, and that was really cool.
Is that
we're still friends today, actually.
Is that where you experienced being able to consent the first time, or is that not really?
Or maybe more the consent.
I mean, consent. No, like that's so like we didn't even have. I mean, he at that time was only. I mean, he still is only a few years older than me. But at that time, you know, he's like 23. I'm like 19, 20. And we're just fucking around and finding out. We're having the talks. Clearly, if I use the words now, we were negotiating because we had all these talks about what I like, sending pictures, sending porn videos of like this, like do me like this, you know, like this, you know, situation, and a lot of teasing and stuff like this. And I was down, like for whatever we did, it was totally consensual, and probably also like the most extreme. Sensorially speaking, that I've ever experienced up until that point, and then after I'd be like feeling great. I think that's one of the nice things is that even if there's a bit of this like because it's dealing with that Catholic guilt or whatever it's dealing with, then I still feel really good afterwards. I was like, okay, that's a vibe. But then fast forward, also, you know, trying to chase some kind of high, maybe finding someone else more local or whatever. I think I was very feeling like I was sexually liberated. But at that time, I don't know that I was able to discern self-harm from sexual liberation. And at the time, especially, getting drunk and hooking up with friends, which like great times, still friends with some of these people today, absolutely. And it was like truly like great, like in the sense of like casual. We didn't really want anything, whether we had a good time, we could still be friends, bro out, but then like hook up sometimes. But I also felt like I was chasing a bit of like that, or maybe running away from commitment and seeking these like a one night stands. I was very interested in the stranger, like in the sense of like not knowing the names and so on. I feel very lucky in my chaos that I didn't run into people who were much more maybe possibly like malicious and wanted to take advantage of me, in that, my 20s to 23s was down a rack of numbers.
Is it the stranger also like, just sorry, it just caught my mind, but like, is it a form of like the non-committing, and like you have like less responsibility as well? Like, it's just like,
I was romanticizing this, and I think maybe many people have this, and even in a sex positive space, that you can just you're physically attracted to someone. It becomes like a sort of mutual objectification. Maybe we wouldn't say that, but it's like, I don't know anything about you. I just love your body and the way that it's making me feel, and I just want to jump on you. And I don't want to maybe get to know you. Partly maybe that would ruin the magic of what this is. And I also feel like there was something empowering, especially at that time, to not spend the night. And I still feel a bit like that. There's something I dislike about the cuddling after as a performance. Like it feels like, and then you're supposed to do this, and I don't actually really want you or need you or want this, and we can psychoanalyze that shit also separately, but I'm not so interested. I think in this context, I'm more interested in this. At the time, what I was feeling was empowered to decide for this person, empowered to feel like I can act on my desires, and pushing against the slut shaming world where like I can act like a man. I'm doing what guys do. And I also, I think it in some weird fucked up way maybe also affirmed my gender, like my non-binary or agender expressions. Just like and I always identified as a tomboy, so I think it was also kind of that energy of like, you fuck and then you just like high five each other at the end, and you just like bounce, like I think I would be a really chill like gay dude, if I
you would be in and out.
I'm here with this culture, man. I love what you guys got going on, but at the same time, right, we're missing the intimacy, we're missing that honesty, the vulnerability, and I certainly would say that I was sort of escaping that.
That was actually, because for me as well, whenever I've had a one-night stand, like, or like even at the parties, like the cuddle after feels more intimate than the sex that we sometimes had. Which is like
gross.
It's so like, what? That doesn't make sense. Like it's super intimate to have sex with someone, whether it's penetration or whatever. There is already like a touching or the exchange of maybe fluids and emotions, but then the cuddle is too intimate for me. Like for a long time I was like, something ain't adding up here.
And I do really believe like you can really have sex that's not intimate. I'm not necessarily interested in that kind of sex now, but I do know it's possible. I do know I've experienced it, and I don't think there's anything wrong with people wanting that or me having experienced that. I also and I think in that time, at one point, I did, I had been struggling in my own way, and had gotten injured, and it was just like a bit of a bad run of bad luck. It was like a difficult year. I moved to New York and essentially felt taken advantage of by somebody. And this is, I think, I'm bringing this up in more detail. If people want to skip over this part, they can, but I'm bringing it up also in relation to what we talked about with, if the bar is a level of criminality, then we're missing the plot here, and I think we're also, it ends up making it difficult for us to talk about when something doesn't feel right, so in this case, it was someone who was interested in me. I honestly was not so much, but I think I was a bit lost in the Percocet sauce and just kind of like was like, yeah, whatever. This dude's interested in me. I had a friend that died recently I was totally in love with, and I was just like, fuck it. Like, I don't even care about anything anymore. Like, and then I go out with this dude, and I think mixing a couple drinks, I was a bit like, whatever, you know? And then I said I was gonna go home. He has to come back. And I think there was a bit, the part that I really disliked was that I was clearly saying I was going to bed. And then he was like, oh, it's late. I'm drunk. I can't bike. I was like, okay, well, you can spend the night. I'm like, I don't really have options. It's like my bed, you know? I wasn't in a space, even on my best of days, it would have been difficult not to sleep with somebody.
Yeah.
But at that time I had also said, like, I don't want to sleep with you. I just want to go to sleep. And then it was, you know, no. And then, you know, and then it's turning around and it's like the rubbing hand, you know what I mean? Ugh, it's just like, so I want to name that as violation. You know, it's like these things when we use the word rape, it ends up being this maybe social image that we have in our head about this like struggle. It can also just be someone giving up after saying no like 6 times. It can be really quiet. It can be the fish that doesn't move, you know, and I really just was not there anymore. And then it was over. And then, you know, and I didn't even have it in me to kick him out. You know what I mean? Again, like, it's just, where does our body go under that pressure? My fucking I left my body, and it didn't come back for probably days, you know? And then when it did, I totally crashed. I didn't have anyone to talk to about it because I thought that was my problem. I invited him back. I deserve what happened to me. And which is not true. No one deserves to experience that. And at the same time, maybe he just didn't fucking hear me, or maybe he's we can create all these reasons, but at this point, I don't think it's sometimes if it just didn't feel good, you know, I wish there could be a way that we could have that conversation at this time. For me, sometimes the answer is just like, I just never wanted to see him again. I deleted his number. I hope to never see him again. And you know, that was a choice I made, you know? And so and then the other things that happened, then, you know, and at the time it was that context where I met somebody, and then we were in a relationship where, and if you somehow find this and listens to it, hopefully no offense, but it was a very vanilla relationship. It was very sweet, and he's a very sweet person. I did not explore anything like I had done before with the other person. And we kept it in that. And I just didn't think someone would love me if I shared. It was also monogamous, you know, I had ideas of wanting a non-monogamous relationship. I didn't share that either. And I never had issue with cheating and things like that. I think I would just break up with somebody if I was like, this isn't working. But that became a thing. And so, like, again, it's just like, consent it's not even in my peripheral, let alone my center or focus. I think I struggled a lot in my early relationships with wanting to be the right person for this person. I can contort myself in ways that I don't even recognize myself anymore. But with somebody with childhood traumas that doesn't have a sense of self, it's very easy to do that, you know. And I think it's taking me more so my late 20s into my 30s, and now I'm in my past my mid 30s, which I'm like, I'm like 36 now. So it's taken all that time to really come to who I am. And then I would say I'm starting this more of this consent journey, because that started after this monogamous relationship ended. Nothing unconsensual happened, but it was just like, if you've seen the movie Obsession, it was like, why would you love me? I could be anybody you want me. I almost feel like I might have said something like that, if not out loud, but like totally. Just tell me who you want me to be. Oh, so scary, you know? So that's like when you eviscerate yourself, you know, that's where it's like, again, can consent even happen in there when you're not in your body, or when you don't know what you want and don't want, and so on? Does it make the relationship not consensual? Like, I think these are not necessarily the right questions, you know?
No, because this is what I feel like now is consent is basically communication and learning how to communicate. And that, like, you're talking also about how bad sex. Yes, we don't know what bad sex is before we have better sex.
Maybe, exactly.
And knowing, oh, I need to have this conflict with somebody to understand, this is what I don't like. This I don't want. And then understand, okay, this is where I need to put a boundary. You need to cross your boundaries to understand where they're at. And you also need to experience some kind of harm in your life to also know this is where I don't want to do again. Like the balance of good and bad and evil and good and, the world. And we're talking about
this is where I want to really name Mia Schatter's work, who does like consent wizardry. They made this really cool like infographic about like there's the green zone where it's something you want and you get it, which you don't learn anything about yourself. It's just sort of validating what you already know. And then there's the red zone, which is that you don't want it. And it happened, which is like a total consent violation, right? Which like should not happen. That's not okay. And then there's like this yellow area, which is higher risk because you didn't know you liked it, and then it happened, and you're like, okay, cool. Or the other one being that like, one is that you weren't sure and then you ended up liking it, or then the other one is that you weren't sure and you ended up hating it. Yeah. And so then you're like, okay, so now I know. And then it becomes one of the, the greens and and I think that's a really important thing is when we become so boundaried, the other side of that is healthy risk and growth and hopefully joy and pleasure on the other side of that. But when we already so fixed on what we know we want or what we're not willing to experience, then we actually can suffocate ourselves.
We're controlling because we don't want to get hurt and we don't want to feel the pain, and we're just like, and then it's like, but then you never get to learn or actually get to release and relax into it and actually experience new pleasures and new forms of happiness or connections or all this.
It's both limiting and also like safekeeping in some way. Like, I mean, if you only ever have, for example, vanilla sex, then maybe you just stay very safe at the same time that you feel safe in your body, but at the same time you may not express, like you may not ever reach that orgasm that you could have reached, or like, like it's both limiting and also like it constrains
you. Relationships today I see is in that vanilla box because that's what society has told. That is what's safe and that is what gives happiness and doesn't dare to actually explore outside the box.
And also I think it's important to say that not everyone's kinky. Like it's totally fine. And I think what you're all, maybe not to put words in your mouth, but what I think we're all agreeing on is that if there is a curiosity, that might be an interesting life. Curiosity is such a life-giving force or just a vibe that that what allows you to kind of explore more. Maybe it's with the partner you're with, or maybe not, or maybe it's with someone else. Maybe it's just looking at images and so on. And maybe it's also the curiosity is actually the best in a fantasy and actually not lived out. Sometimes sharing your fantasies is the funnest part about the fantasy as opposed to like
doing it.
God, so like practically and biological limits sometimes can get in the way of that. But the thing that you said about the vanilla too, I dated someone. I was like, do the the thing, the BDSM thing. And just hitting like vanilla and then maybe a little bit slightly dominant. And I was like, okay, maybe some people just really are like chilling with that. They don't really have the interest. And that's totally fine.
There's all different.
It's also for me.
Same thing with monogamy, right? It's like monogamy is not a problem. It's just dictating that everybody needs to do that is the problem, right?
Yes.
And thinking that that's the only way or that's the only real love or real relationship is a monogamous one is just trash. It's just bullshit.
Well, I think for me, what is kind of like coming up right now is script, because if you stay in what your majority of society is doing, if let's say the majority of society has vanilla sex or there's a lot of taboos about sex or something like that, so you just only experience that form of safety because you think that is internalized safetyness, but you might not feel that it's actually safe, so you might not actually and that's where I think curiosity can be very liberating, but it can also, if you don't have capacity or you have not maybe felt safe in exploring curiosity, then you might not ever
you don't dare, because this is also what I feel like consent has given me, is that if something does hurt or is something painful, I'm better at actually expressing myself, so I don't have to hold it and suppress this feeling of guilt or sadness or the negative feeling. I actually can express like, hey, that didn't really feel right. And I understand your attention was good, but now I don't have to hold on to this negative bad feeling. And actually it's okay to feel sad or feel pain because I'm not doing it alone. And I have the way of releasing it from my body and not letting it stay with me. So I'm not so afraid of maybe stepping wrong or failing in that way.
And then this is going into, I think, this thing about blame.
Yeah,
right?
I was
Where it's
hearing
like,
that too. Yeah.
Which is one of the things that I notice in my own personal consent journey, but also something that I feel like is a classic pitfall. I think even Mia Schatzer will agree to this about noticing blame in the ways it comes up. Even something so simply like where does blame live in your daily life? Like when you know, if you have roommates or something and you find something missing, how fast does it take you to think it was somebody else that misplaced it? You know,
Yes.
or it must have, that must have been me doing it. It's like, they always fucking take my shit and don't put, you know, just like so fast, right? So in certain contexts, maybe that's also pretty alive, and especially in this context, maybe when accountability was never felt, you know, like when I'm hurt by somebody, or you know, I'm curious about the kind of mixture of the complexity of consent and hurt and harm, and I think this idea that as a society, when we don't get accountability, even we watch on the news, I mean, we're in like the Epstein files, you know, dystopia here, where like the most powerful people are escaping any sense of justice, and we have princes raping chicks and like all this shit. Is like that does something to our body to even know that. If anything, just to become like indifferent is a somatic response to that stress. Some people really take it in that. Sometimes it also reminds us of our stories that never had a space to be heard, to say that didn't feel good. You know, when I said no 5 times, and you know, like it. I do also believe that not everything needs to end in criminal, you know, in the criminal justice system. And I wished for more of us to be able to have the bravery and the support to come towards people, myself included, to name when something doesn't feel good. Not necessarily everything that doesn't feel good. I think it's also this other thing in relationships where there's a level of imperfection that we have to embrace in each other, and the way that we communicate is not going to be perfect. The way that you know, I can give you the best of my tone, but you might always think I'm aggressive. This could be a cultural thing. And I don't necessarily think, again, we need to contort ourselves to be palatable for other people. I might just be abrasive to you forever. Like, it's just fine. And that might just inform to what degree can we be together? Like, at what distance feels that I can honor, again, myself and you at the same time, that I can love me and you at the same time. And I think for me, it's been actually, my process is actually not blaming me so much, that I am the reason for all my demise, you know, and actually, and no, that shouldn't happen, or that wasn't appropriate for that person. And then usually having some access to like healthy anger. I have had struggle with anger management my entire life. But I think in the more recent years, because I just didn't have the tools to say something, it bothered me, because I would just erupt in a fury that I didn't even know where that was coming from, again, probably way before this relationship and so on. So there's a lot of learning about like the point of which I'm allowed to even notice it, and then I can name it. That already is a fucking lot, you know, because I might not have ever really gotten the chance to name when something didn't feel good. And then what am I supposed to do? Tell you about it? And then expect you to not do exactly what I've only experienced, which is like shame, blame, silence, you know, just
abandonment.
So then the classic thing that someone might do in this situation, someone who's more used to fawning or something, is take that burden onto themselves and not say anything and just move it the fuck on, you know? But of course, sometimes when these things compact and when life is pressure in other places, it comes out in weird ways, and like passive aggressive, or big ass blowouts, or like bringing up something from a year ago when like clearly is difficult for that person to do anything with. And so I think that's the big one for me. And one of the things that I also notice in this work as well is um, with blame also is this delicate discussion around victimhood as a very real position. There are victims to harm, victims to abuse, and to violations. And at the same time, I'm not, it's not skeptical. I'm just aware in which the ways of a victim narrative can be weaponized. Both victimhood, it's in a lot of ways, at least in my own experience, is a very disempowering space. I struggled for a very long time to call myself a survivor because it's not the only thing that I experienced, right? I won't just go into all the details and like rack up my list of consent violations, but I will say that I am not a survivor. My up until this point right now, I use that term. It's solidarity actually with other people who have survived things they shouldn't have needed to experience, and from that place, the victim narrative made me feel disempowered, and my way of feeling empowered was that you can't touch me, you can't bother me, you can't affect me. So that's not the best way of dealing with these things, I will say that, but that was a way, and at the time the only way that I could, and some twisted way that felt very empowering, that I could choose even to what degree can I feel like you affect me. But so at the same time, one of the things which I'll bring up is there's a lot with exes. I feel like more than ever, like I don't know if it's the political sphere, the culture, the overuse, maybe it's a little bit of everything, right? But the overuse of these little bite-sized psychology blips is like everybody's a toxic person and everyone's ex is toxic.
Or narcissistic.
And everyone's a narcissist. And I was just like, statistically impossible.
Yeah.
And also, like, I really do believe in people. I do believe that we're fucking shit. But also, we most of us aren't toxic. Most of us. And when we overuse these words, we actually lose the importance of these terms. When we overuse the word abuse, even though you feel abuse, you know, again, who is to say also? So I just want to say this with a lot of complexity, a lot of contradiction here, but to say that when we use these terms in ways, it just dilutes the power when we really need to name abuse, and we really need to name toxic people who are not willing to change, who constantly evade accountability and going to other communities and wreaking havoc over there. Breakups suck. I am not my best self when I'm feeling hurt and when the relationship is upending, probably because two people are involved, right? That's usually the case, right? And I think we need to give space for us not to show up well, and for us, like, the space for, and again, it's saying that, like, permission to be human in all the different ways is not me giving everyone a green light to talk shit about yelling at each other. Like, again, this goes back to accountability. The fact that you're having screaming arguments is exactly the shit that says your relationship isn't fucking working, and exactly why you probably became exes and so on. And that sounds like a logical step, you know what I mean? That, and at the same time, you know, turning every like conversation, every large argument into now I have an abusive partner, so on. I'm a bit skeptical. I got to be honest, and
because you're also then painting somebody as the bad guy, and then you're the good guy.
It immediately creates that black and white that I was wrong and you were wrong, and then now it's like, what are you bringing to this fucking, you know, trash can of a relationship too? Because, you know, from the outside's perspective, I also don't like this triangulation that happens where we're trying to bring people on your side. I get that we got to have our friends that we can talk to about it, but
and get validation for our story and our how we're feeling.
Doing it in a way where, like, hey, I don't know, like this, my ex did this to me. It becomes, again, a difficult space of, it's important that people know if someone's being fucking wild, you know. I mean, that's also very subjective, and at the same time, maybe it's the part of me that's empathizing with my crazy ass and how I was when I was like 16, 19, whatever, you know, even 23.
Yeah, even now,
Pretty
maybe
crazy
you know,
girlfriend
like
vibes, like I will say, and so for someone to stamp my entire character on how I behaved during a shitty relationship feels unfair, I will say, given how different I am and given what happens when your prefrontal cortex fucking matures and shit, and you go to you know,
Therapy.
a trauma therapist, and yeah.
yeah. I just noticed, like, I'm sitting here very like low. So I was like, yeah, like, yeah.
I'm sitting because I'm
No, but it could be a time to wrap it up, maybe. But because I do feel like that was a very beautiful endpoint of that when we are blaming people and putting people as good or bad, we're not having empathy for actually the people to see why are they doing like this and seeing their backstory and having empathy for their where they're at in their journey, and that we're all kind of humans just exploring, not knowing what we're doing.
We're complex.
We're fucking complex and super easy at the same time. But having the understanding that there are different realities, different perspectives in this crazy fucked up world, and it also gives you more acceptance for things are at, because I feel like if you're blaming something, this is wrong, you're having resistance to this person and you're like cutting off, no, this is not okay. But having, of course, that is a feeling okay to have because something crossed your boundary, and understanding that was a big violation, but then also kind of having more empathy for, now I lost my thread, data thought.
Your chain of thought.
But having more compassion for where people are at in their journey, for especially for people who are willing to do the work, to take accountability, to want to learn from that. And in the community sense is that if we're having people who are blaming and breakups are going sideways, how do we have a community then? That's not a sustainable community. We need to have a community where you're actually come back into community and you can actually be friends, not necessarily close friends, but at least can be in the same room without having all this tension or anger or hurt and all these feelings. It's going to definitely take maybe sometimes years to get over it because we are complex beings. But I think that is like the more of a healthy community is where we actually can work through these conflicts and work through these tensions.
Yeah, I feel like it's a lot about like showing up with your whole self and being respectful and also honorable towards that, but also and towards other people, and showing up with their whole selves.
I think it's something about this phrase that it's not necessarily that I'm disagreeing with what you're saying, but just the phrasing itself of a whole self. I don't necessarily believe that like in every way we need to be able to, my whole self, I would be in jail. You know what I mean? Like you know, like I think it's okay that not all of me everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually important. I think that's actually what makes me more of like a healthy person to be around. And it's my accountability. Actually, I just want to go back to a really important thing that I'm hoping that if people are listening this far, or I hope they do end up listening all the way through, because what I'm saying or what we're talking about is in many ways very difficult to talk about briefly. I mean, we could talk about this for hours in the complexity of this, given we live under, you know, a rape culture, you know, super misogynistic and also like homophobic society that's also incredibly hypersexual and a sex negative. Like it doesn't fucking make sense, and we're left to sort of just do our best under that. And I'm really trying to say that it's there's no excuses for bad behavior. You know, there's no excuses for causing harm. I really dislike this idea that neurodivergence is an excuse for treating people poorly, for continuing to be rude to people. It's okay to not understand social norms, for example. It's okay to get dysregulated. And where is the part of acknowledging yourself and changing? I feel like somebody gets so activated when somebody talks about their like blow up and being like, okay, well, I have this background, so this is just me. And that is a narrative that just just permits no
Yes.
change.
Yeah, but there's no self-accountability. I think that
Exactly.
what I meant before with your whole self, there's also like you try to learn, you try to get more self-aware. Like, yeah, I do not think that it helps when you blame your, like, yeah, whatever it is that you have in your backpack. Sometimes you need to just put the backpack down and be like, listen, I did shit.
Yeah. And this is, again, like, I just want to give some, probably, I think it's important to talk about some practical things instead of just like these things. Like, one of the things is, and maybe this is what makes me like,
we can also do an episode too, you know.
Okay, that's true.
No, but you finish.
But I want to just mention about like what this can look like in practice. Like, one is, if one of the things that I had to learn, or what are the signs before the fucking train is on fire and like crashing in slow motion, because usually it's just like happening like that, right? And we're already there, and then we're like, what the fuck, you know, and then having to apologize for things that we said. Is like, one of the first parts in healing for me was slowing that damn train down and actually really like analyzing like I was fine, and then I was not fine, or you were fine, or I thought I was fine with you, and then suddenly you're like my enemy. It's like, you know, obviously, like, I have a very big fight in me, and also a flee button. It's just like, I'm gonna fuck this conversation, I'm fucking out, you know what I mean? I can't even say that sometimes, but in this way, it's to really understand me better.
Yes.
And the accountability is, at some point in certain relationships, my feeling of frustration was the limit, because I didn't trust where my body would go any further. Like, I couldn't hold a difficult conversation in a relationship while being frustrated. And I think that showed maybe my lack of capacity and ability of dealing with conflict, but also I feel grateful for the person that could meet me there. We decided to, you know, also, we were ending our relationship, but we still had to talk to each other and all these things. And so meeting me in that space so that we could both grow and change, that was really, I think, an act of love in many ways. And I learned a lot about myself in the ways in which I can just be like a flip, you know, switch. And so that ended up being like needing to take breaks. And that also became an extension, because at that time, when I became so quickly activated, this goes into like the window of tolerance things, when you just shoot out of your window of tolerance sometimes when someone is traumatized. And also in the early stages of trauma healing, when things are just really unraveling and you don't even know what's up and down anymore, is a really, I just want to give a lot of compassion to people in that space, is that you really are just getting to know yourself in a whole nother way. And so sometimes I can't pull the emergency brake on there, and even though it's still my responsibility to do it, I would really appreciate some help, you know. So at that time, we had this conversation. It's like, if you're starting to feel uncomfortable, like, I had to kind of give a little bit of that permission to be like, if you're feeling uncomfortable with the vibe of the conversation, then you can ask for a break too, you know. And this also goes from like, we focus so much on the submissive or the bottom for like stopping a scene and all this, and if the top is feeling like the vibe is off, like, I need a break, like, or, you know. And I think we need to normalize that a lot more.
Time is also on your side. Like, time is good in terms of like how to both give yourself a moment, but also give the other people or person a moment to just like go inwards, and like then maybe there's some self-regulation that can happen. Maybe there's some just a breath, like sometimes when you're
Ground
in
yourself,
this like
it's just the, even, I mean, again, we say it and it seems so easy. It's a world away from the bullet train of I'm dysregulated to, oh, like, I'm noticing, like, I'm starting to get really hot right now. I'm starting to interrupt. We're interrupting each other to be like, you know, I need to go get a cigarette, or like, you know, I just need to go outside for a breath right now. Is like, when this is our somatic shifts, and when I talk about these things, it really is like shifting universes. Like, you will step in, your body is stepping into somewhere it doesn't even have ever been. And sometimes it's like fucking with the mate, like your body's like glitching. You can't even like talk. You're like, I'm supposed to take a break right now. We even practice, sometimes we're working with, you know, in coaching situations, we practice like asking for a break and saying like, I need a break, I will come back in 5 minutes, I'll talk to you about this tomorrow, you know. So we have these agreements about what time limits and things like this to set. And you can do all that in that space because you're regulated in a context where I'm also present. But then when you're in the wild, it's just, I'm fucking 5 minutes, you know. And that's better than keeping the conversation going. It's not where we want to stay, but and I think and again, it's in this position. I'm not even suggesting that partner sticks around for it. I am also saying that people do, and I'm also saying that some people do that, and that's as far as they go. And people, but some people really do change their behavior. Some people really learn how. Like, I mean, I'm a testament to that, where being constantly triggered by fucking everything to a point where, like, I'm chilling.
I'm good.
I'm chilling. I'm like kind of boring actually nowadays. I'm like, yeah, whatever. A lot of times I'm trying to like let people do things, and I'm like, you know what? They're allowed to make different decisions. I don't gotta do.
It's not my responsibility.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that is, in a sense, we live together. I'm willing to hold my part in the way I affect people, but at the same time, I can put down what's not mine.
Yeah.
And a lot of this need for control is like really working for that and controlling other people and so on. And so I'm just like, cool. You want to do that? Chill. Maybe not for me, but
I heard someone say recently to respond to those certain situations with, "Oh, interesting choice." I was just like,
I was a bit condescending for me, but okay, that's chill. I mean,
I'll take that information.
Yeah,
information.
But
very interesting.
But I also wondered if it was because some of these things I was thinking about. What are some questions people have after workshops and so on? I'm wondering if there's time for that. Or if you
what is the
that.
time?
Yeah,
Tell me, since you have one.
It's 40. It's quarter till 12.
Okay, I will have to go because I'm picking up Isabella.
Okay, then we just wrap it up here.
Yeah.
But I do want to say that it would be nice to actually have a space in which we just focus on some of these commonly asked questions. Sometimes even just like some of the practical responses I give, and I don't have answers for everything, but there are some things that people really resonated with and I found useful.
But this is definitely like a starting, and I mean,
we need more podcasts, of course, but this is always. But yes, if you guys got questions, please put them in the comments.
Yes,
and we'll take up more of that discussion, because you had intro consent, you had embodied consent, and then you went into let's get nerdy and gritty seminar consent,
yeah, exactly.
So which is a little bit like this, I'm assuming, of going more into depths of talking about how complex
I think it's more just the practicalities of like some questions were along the lines of, I noticed that I lose access to my no in like an intimate situation. Like, how do I get better about that? Or another really great question I get is like, how can I tell when somebody's not in their body in their situations? And or how do I know if someone says yes, do they actually mean it? Or when they these kinds of things that make people, I think, in this responding to that uncertainty or fear that people are getting, that if I make one wrong move, and a lot of compassion to these guys, like, you're not getting like any help, and then we're also getting in this space where it's suddenly like, and really there is no societal accountability. I mean, it's a perception that like suddenly all these guys are going to go to jail for all this, and it just does not happen. And I'm not suggesting that should even, honestly. I'm not sure that that's the way. Call me crazy, but I think that there are other ways in which we can deal with harm and do it in community. I don't know that we're there at all yet, but I would say that having these conversations, coming towards harm when people report, and us really talking to it, working with people in the ways in which they acknowledge what they did wrong, and then also like what got them there, and then mapping out ways of doing it differently so that doesn't fucking happen again, is just like one of the steps to take when we're trying to deal with like transformative justice.
Yeah.
Transformative justice. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of our journey, even though we had tired ass brains and bloopers in many different forms. But yes, we appreciate you guys being here with us.
Yeah. See you next time. Oh my god, I'm just feel myself getting
sweaty.
hotter and hotter.
I needed to pee for so long.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Thank you.
Oh, mine died.
Did mine not? Mine did not die.
It's going.